Okay, it's connecting. Okay, I think we're live.
Okay. Well, we can pretend that we haven't just talked for a few minutes, and I can say, "How you doing, Lindsay?"
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. Life is like hectic and crazy, and there's stuff that happens day to day that. Hold on, hold on. We're having a little bit of a feedback here. Okay, I think we got it. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You were hearing
Okay.
feedback on your end?
Yeah, there's a 20-second delay, and so if I don't mute it, then it'll start playing it back through my headphones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
So you just have to make sure that the second you go live, you mute it. Otherwise, it'll get real confusing real
I
fast.
see.
I've
Because
never had
it's
it like a continuous feedback loop. I've never had that happen, but it is, yeah. It's
yeah,
just one of
it's
those
just
little weird details of streaming.
yeah, that makes sense though. That it would be coming through YouTube. So, well, you know, I think I'll say like I I like having someone to talk to that is like talk to in person. Like I listen to live streams and podcasts and all that stuff all the time, but to actually talk to someone that can see sort of see the road ahead in much the same way. I mean, because I think it's going to get so crazy here in the next couple months, people can't even comprehend it. And because I just I see how things are coming unglued now. Like if you have eyes to see it, it is there. And you know what it's like to feel deceived, like in any, large or small way. And I think, like my heart just hurts for humanity to see like how much deception is going to be unveiled soon and how that's going to affect people. I mean, I just think, you know, I don't know, like, what do you think? It just seems like we're not too far off now.
Um, well, first of all, like you and I don't get a chance to talk anywhere near as often as I would like. Um, I hope everybody's caught on now that this is Lauren, beautiful Lauren, my editor. And we're both just living life and putting one foot in front of the other and working toward um, our working toward our goals and all of that stuff. But we were lucky enough to get connected at a time when I think we both kind of felt like um, you know maybe it was time to start hedging our bets a little bit. I don't know if you caught that vibe from, early 2020, even before, you know, COVID was really on my radar. I still had um, this inkling that it was a good idea to start preparing. And I didn't know for what. And so that's kind of when you and I got connected. And um, since then, like we've been kind of together on this journey, watching all of this stuff happen. And I have to tell you how awesome it. I mean, that's not even the right word. Like how um, truly like heaven sent it was to have somebody to be able to talk to, that understood how I was perceiving the events that were happening, that didn't think I was crazy, that didn't think I was being hyperbolic or, you know, um, any of that stuff. Like I remember when I think it was in one of the solo casts, I was like, I mean, this was like when they it became obvious, like back in the spring, that like the shutdowns weren't going to be lifted anytime soon, and people were
Mhm.
really like freaking out. There was no relief money yet. There was nothing like that. And I remember just being like, there's this hashtag fuck the banks going on. And if people can be astute in their thinking, they might realize that it might be a better idea to, buy food and, uh, you know, um, find ways to, like I said, hedge their bets a little bit because we don't know what's coming down the road. And that wasn't a view that I felt comfortable sharing with everyone. Ironically, I put it on my podcast for everyone to hear, but it wasn't something that I talked about really with anybody that was close to me because I felt like maybe they weren't seeing the big picture that I was seeing at the time,
Yeah.
because back in the day, I was really into conspiracy theories. And I thought, I remember thinking like there was one Thanksgiving when uh, W. Bush was president. And I remember like my partner and I were convinced that was like that Thanksgiving was going to be the time that they rounded up all of the dissenters, like that's what, that's where my mind was in, the Bush era, because I was seeing so much happen. And I just was so untrusting of the establishment. And then fast forward, you know, knowing that like that was my perspective kind of all throughout, like I thought the worst was going to happen when Bush was president, and then Obama became president. And it was just Bush 2.0,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that's when I started to understand the concept of long-term agendas of these people. Everything doesn't have to happen right now. It's small incremental steps towards the fruition of their agenda. And so when Obama became president, like I kind of realized like, oh, like they don't have to do everything right now. They can take these small steps. And with every step there's that idea of, pushing someone until you can't push them anymore before they fight back, and then you back off. And then when they get comfortable, you push them a little bit more, and then you back off, and then you push them a little bit more. And that's how you get humanity to behave the way that you want them to. It's through small incremental steps.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, oh, now they don't have to take small incremental steps, you know? Now they've got a perfect excuse to, and whoever they is, the proverbial they,
Right.
but now they've got an excuse to move forward with any agenda that they want, and it, for the most part, will be supported. Um, and so when I was in that mindset of like, you need to look out for yourself. You shouldn't be thinking about what these people, whether it be the media or your representatives or all of these people telling you what you should do or what you should be thinking. You need to think about yourself and your family and what's going to be good for you, and then stick to that because nobody else is doing that for you. And so to have, I know that that's a long drawn out answer, but to have you to talk to about this, and to be able to record my ridiculous solo rants and not have you come back and say, oh, Lindsay, this sounds a little bit crazy and maybe you want to tone it down a bit. You never did that.
Yeah.
You never did
Well,
that to me. You
yeah,
were like, no, this is good. You need to keep doing this.
yeah. I mean, because I was in the conspiracy wormhole at one point, and it's a dark place you don't want to stand, but at the same time, like you don't come away thinking that uh, everything that you learned when you were in that conspiracy wormhole is bullshit. You come away like learning to be discerning, but seeing this pattern in history. And I mean, it's not just in the conspiracies that people always talk about. I mean, it's stuff that is out there in the open. um the founding of the Federal Reserve, and you and I have talked about like a lot of the financial stuff. But I think it's and this is sort of like I wanted to sort of talk about that psychological process of sort of self-deception about these things, um how, you know, you can tell yourself a story because it's easier to lie to yourself. It's easier to say like this isn't happening in the world, or you know, like because so often, like if you are truthful with yourself, like it's really uncomfortable. And you know, I mean, I think I can speak to that because like this last year has been um a hell of a year for me. I mean, even, you know, I didn't really realize how much I deceived myself, like how much self-deception I engaged in. And so, you know, it was a difficult year to come to terms with like ways that I compartmentalized my own psyche. And you know, and of course it's like it's a childhood trauma thing. I mean, that's really where it comes from. Um but you know, I think I'm at a place now where uh, I just want truth. I want truth in my own personal life. I want truth, you know, in the world. And you know, like, and I see all these lies and deceptions. And the thing is, like, people like expect these deceptions to be to look overt and evil, and you know, but it's so seductive. I mean, there's so much that you like, you know, because you have gotten to that place where you always look, you know, for truth, and you feel it as like an intuition, like that's not right, it doesn't, you know. But yeah, the I think the self-deception, you know, it's you, um you know, you deceive yourself in these small ways, like you know, so you say, if I'm not fully myself, my loved ones will reject me. Or um you know, we believe that those who claim authority over us have our best interests at heart, you know, because when we want to feel loved and cared for. But you know, I think it's an intuition thing, you know, like you can feel the wheels coming off. You can feel that like things are going to start shifting, and people are going to go bonkers when it does, because I mean, it's like 1 + 1 = 2, you know. Your society is going to be upended in very bizarre ways, and people are not going to react well. um and I don't really want to live through that. And so, like, to see all the screws twisting now, to see all the ways that they're deceiving people and twisting their minds, and then, you know, when they let it go, uh, yeah, go ahead. What do you?
Well, first I want to ask you, had you seen that before, or was that deception something that became apparent this year to you? I mean, I know, you know, with having been down all of the rabbit holes of conspiracy, you know, you and I have, you know, been through a lot of the same material, I think.
Mhm.
Um, but do you think that this year really kind of showed you that deception in more plain sight?
Well, I mean, I think, like, so I think, I mean, I knew it was out there, you know, like I knew that there were, the world that we live in is not quite the one represented to us. Um, and I think when the pandemic started, like, I didn't automatically jump to, you know, sort of the Alex Jones level. Okay, now they're doing this, you know. Um, but
I'm always
uh,
jumping towards Alex Jones level. Like that's my go-to.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, the guy he's a flawed human being like anyone else. And I think what we tend to do in the society is like, if someone makes a mistake, we have no empathy for them, and we just throw them out, and we say like, oh, they're all full of shit, you know. But I mean, everybody makes mistakes. And you know, uh, honestly, when I talk about, you know, the deception part, like, you know, it was more in my like interpersonal relationships, you know. But I feel like when you have any kind of self-deception, it colors how you see the world, because you know, you might be telling yourself this is fine, this is fine, and it's just something that you repeat, and you extrapolate it to a macro scale. But yeah, I think, you know, I this as this started, uh, you know, I didn't want to believe that it would go the way that it's going, but now, like, you know, it seems like that clear pattern. Like when you look at other kind of false flag events, or just anything where there's this deception going on. I don't I don't want to live in a world of deception. I think that it's just something that we're not used to admitting to it's the saying, like, it's easier to lie to a person than to convince them they've been lied to. um, and people just allow it to happen, because I mean, maybe they're not living in their own truth, and so I mean, for me, that is like, I think you have to be true to yourself in all aspects of your life,
Mm.
and like it's because I don't say I'm there, like I have stuff that I still like. I think I sort of deceive myself, or I tell like myself, like, oh, like, like, I need to be more real about my diet. I eat pretty healthy, but like I eat so much uh, uh, plant-based oils and stuff like that, like, and it's hard to be honest and say, like, I could do this better, instead of
Mm.
just trying to feel good in the moment and say, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Um, and gosh, that's really funny that you bring that up because like I've been really thinking about that too. But one of my clients just told me about an app that will help you. You can customize it as many times as you want. It's a meal planning app. And you can customize it to gluten free or vegan or whatever you want. I like these vegetables and I don't like those vegetables or
Mhm.
whatever. This is how many people I have to cook for. So the app plans your meals for the week, and then it also gives you a shopping list. And then it also orders your food for you and has it delivered. So you have no excuse. I didn't have time to
Yeah,
get to the grocery store, whatever it is. And my client that was telling me about this app, she was like, it is crazy how much money I've saved. Like, I'm not buying stuff that just sits on my shelves anymore. I'm not eating out 2 to 3 nights a week because I didn't plan properly. So I think that like those tools are out there to help us get on track with our diet. Like I feel like
yeah,
that's one of the things that we really do have control over. So I'm super stoked. And if I could remember the name of the app, I would totally hype it up right now. But
yeah,
that's my game plan. When as soon as I recall the name of the app, I'll text it over to you.
yeah. And I'm the cook in our house, so I actually, we cook pretty healthy, but my problem is snacking. I'll just like go into the potato chips and stuff like that. So and it's okay in moderate amounts, but I mean, is it really? I don't know.
You know, I I had to open my shades. It's getting dark. Actually, I'm going to turn on my light real quick. But I'm realizing that my diet is very much tied up in how I value myself, which sounds kind of cheesy a little bit. But the more I dig into it, the more I realize like, if I really love myself and if I really am wanting to do the things that I want to do, I need to be as healthy as possible, right?
Right.
And a huge part of that is not putting things into my body that is going to prevent me from running at optimum. So that's really where I'm trying to wrap my head around it at the moment. Like I need to run at optimum.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have done some things that I feel a lot better than I did in previous years. And I actually do like homemade smoothie every morning. And that really sets me, and kombucha, like I do a lot of that stuff. So I just, like you said, like, so if I know that there's something in, like, an ingredient in a food like potato chips that's a vegetable oil, and uh everyone tells me, like, oh, they're pretty awful, like one of the worst metabolic poisons you could eat, then I really should, like you said, I should value myself not enough to not eat eat
But at
potato
the same
chips maybe,
time, I
right?
love potato
I
chips.
know they're so delicious,
They
so I
are
don't know.
so. Have you tried making your own? That way you could cook them in an oil that you're comfortable with.
That's an interesting idea. And we have an air fryer too, so maybe I should just try that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, just hit them with a little bit of, whatever kind of oil you're comfortable with. Um, and try out your air fryer. I've heard they make pretty good chips though.
Yeah, I might have to give that a try. I don't
I
know,
wonder
but
if they're more
kettle
like a Lay's or if they're more like a kettle chip. I
seems like they'd
prefer
have to be
kettle
pretty
chip.
thick. Oh, that's the poison right there. That's what I eat way too
That's the
much
good
of.
stuff.
Yeah, right. um, oh well, I'll keep working on it. But yeah, I mean, I think with the whole the way that we see the world going, uh, and how frightening it's going to be for people. Uh, I try not to. Uh, I try to have a sense that I'm not looking to make external enemies of these people. Um, like try to find the best
How
way to
do
have
you
some
feel
empathy.
about that? Like this divisive nature, this divisive air that's being pumped through the country, because the way I see it, like they'll try one thing after another to divide us, but everything they try isn't working. You know what I mean? Like they tried the whole social distancing thing first, and that kind of worked. It kind of did. It got people scared, right? And so they started staying home and all of that. Um, but still, like people weren't getting angry with each other.
Yeah.
So then Black Lives Matter happened,
Hmm.
and that just honestly, to me, from what I've seen, that just brought more unity, more people being like, hey, you're right, there is a disparagement in how some of Americans are being treated, and if they're Americans they should be treated correctly like everyone else. So that didn't bring the divisive air that they were hoping for. Then it was the masks. Well, if you don't wear a mask you're a bad person. You don't care about other people. you know how do you
Yeah.
feel about all of that?
I mean, I think it shows that all their social theories or their presumptions about how stupid we are. Um, I mean, on the whole, aren't true. You know, I think that just the idea of like feeling like you're superior and trying to control all of humanity. Um, I mean, we have a saying in the South, like bless your heart, bless their hearts, which sounds it sounds like it's saying something nice, but it's really just you poor ignorant bastard, like try again, fucktard. And I mean that's how it's sort of like how I have to feel about them, like I mean, like we've seen this in other revolutions. I mean, people get the guillotine eventually, so I mean their day's coming. um
Randy is in the chat and she says, where'd she go? She says, hey guys, okay, what is the blue drink?
um so I try to stay really hydrated. And there's this stuff that we buy called, I think it's Ultima or Ultima, something like that. So it's an electrolyte drink. But it doesn't have, it has stevia in it. It doesn't have any aspartame or any of that kind of stuff in it. Um, and so it's kind of like Gatorade. It doesn't taste quite as good as Gatorade, but I mean, I drink massive amounts of water when I have that stuff. And it's expensive, unfortunately. It's like I mean, I think like maybe like $1 a serving or something. So we
Oh,
we buy it in like a big canister. Now I don't think it's that much. I think it's like maybe like 50 cents a serving. Um, but I mean, the more water I drink, the better I feel. So
all right, Randy, there you go. um but yeah, back to I agree with you. I think that maybe it was a surprise for them too to see that we're maybe not as stupid as they thought we were. um and I see a lot of like local organizing happening, and I wonder, I hope that the controllers or whatever you want to call those people, I hope that they continue to underestimate us. you know I hope
well,
that. they don't realize what good sprinters we are. They're good long distance runners, right? But we're sprinters.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I mean, you can kind of see a few moves ahead. I mean, like, because they're not going to stop trying. And so I think the next thing is this whole UFO thing. Have you seen any of that stuff?
Oh yeah, Operation
Yeah.
Bluebeam is in the works.
Well, and see, I haven't heard anything about that, but just that, I mean, they've started releasing stuff like the
Mm-hmm.
Pentagon
Yeah.
released some program, and the what I heard is that it was the Defense Department was running this program, unidentified aerial phenomenon task force like that, but
Mm-hmm.
they're going to brief Congress this summer, you know, and so they've been releasing this stuff, and so like I just so don't care about aliens. Like I all the goofy, like my kids know, like, so I hate Star Trek. I don't care for Star Wars, like all the goofy alien movies. It just, and I just don't have the mental bandwidth for that. But you know, so I've never really like paid that much attention to it. I like, you know, serious philosophical sci-fi, you know, like I've never
Mm-hmm.
cared if there's aliens, but it just seems to me like that's another, it's something else to scare us. And so it's kind of like a desperate move, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, because I mean, if you want to shatter people's psyches, I mean, you know, I mean, of course, yeah, society coming unglued will help, but telling people that there's UFOs and questioning humanity's origins and any of that stuff that might or might come out, whether or not it's true, I mean, you know, just put it in the media and watch the minds crack.
Yeah, well, and the most telling thing is that they decided to start talking about this now. Like, to me, that's the most telling thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, well, apparently these are projects that you've had in the works for a long time, and it's research that you've been doing for a long time. You have multiple reports from different military members, people who are in high ranks that are well respected. But for some reason, you haven't decided, or you decided that, previously it wasn't the right time, but now all of a sudden it's the right time. And Project Bluebeam is this idea that um, the possibility of extraterrestrials will be used against the public for compliance, basically. Another thing to get people afraid so that they can have compliance. The reason that it's called Project Bluebeam is essentially the idea that, we can have live 3D realistic holograms now. We have that technology. And so, the deepest of the conspiracy theorists believe that they will use some sort of 3D technology, holographic technology, to convince us that we're either in contact or maybe even in under direct attack or something like that from extraterrestrials, which to me is just so absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's, and how convenient that now is the time that the government wants to be forthwith, or wants to be forthcoming, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know if that, I don't know what their plan is with that. I just find it, yeah, like you, I find it suspicious that they're rolling that out. But you know, I mean, and the 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 threats, all the China threats going on. I mean, I don't know if they're ramping that up. You know, all the stuff, all the other sort of geopolitical stuff that could generate a good amount of fear for them. I mean, you know, the whole thing with Taiwan is a little concerning. That, uh, yeah, I mean,
What's
just
going
the
on in Taiwan right now? Because I haven't had a chance to keep up as much as I would like.
well, just that they've, it's been under threat of being reclaimed from by China, and it's sort of been, you know, this position of the U.S. that we would always defend them, and um, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, you know, I don't understand a lot of all of the geopolitics there, but I mean, I know, you know, I think something like 80% of the world's silicon chips are produced in Taiwan, something like that, but a lot. And so, and right now there's a chip shortage. They can't keep up with it fast enough. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those things like looking ahead, like looking towards the future. Um, you know, you can start to see these cracks, and if they can't keep up with the silicon demand now, and then anything happens with Taiwan, you know, that's another way that like society's going to feel some bumps. So, um,
Gosh, yeah. Whether or not our technology can keep up with our demands or the production of our technology, for
yeah,
sure. Um, what I've been watching is what's going on with the SEC and um, or the FEC, and have you been paying attention to oh, what is its token called? It's the library. Have you been paying attention to what's going on with them?
no,
So, so for the listeners that aren't familiar, Library is a content creator platform that rewards creators in tokens, in essentially not exactly cryptocurrency, but you can call them tokens. And how they're rewarded is by being upvoted and shares and basically subscriber and follower support. So every time you get engagement with one of your videos or something like that, you receive a certain amount of this token. And the library corporation has always maintained that this is not a cryptocurrency. We never had a initial coin offering. We don't sell our tokens. We don't do any of that stuff. So we are not a cryptocurrency. But the FEC has come down on them on library because they're trying to say that this is essentially a security, which if you look into, I don't think that they have any legs to stand on as far as that goes, and I think that library and its subsequent platforms like Odyssey is produced by the library corporation,
yeah, okay,
and I don't think that the FEC has anything um, to really pursue here because the token that they're using isn't a monetary token. You know, you can't trade it in for cash value. There's no cash value to this token, and like they said, there it was never initially offered as a securities token like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that, where you can actually buy the token. It has to be earned, and so I don't think you know, the case should be thrown out within 5 minutes of being
yeah,
heard. Whether or not it will be, is we'll see about
yeah.
that. But
Well, I think, you know, what I think they're trying to do with this velocity of money is they're trying to keep the equivalent of people from hiding their money under the mattress. They're trying to keep everything in the system. And so I think they see any, like, especially Bitcoin, like the way that is a security. I mean, I have just a little bit, like less than one Bitcoin, and we just did our taxes, and uh you know, it's like they've been talking about like a 49% capital gains or something like that that might be hit with, you know, hit on Bitcoin. And I think that's the idea. I mean, they're destroying the currency, and so um, they want to keep the value of, you know, keep it in the system, you know.
hmm hmm
But
do you think that that's possible if people are willing to be paid in crypto? Do you think it's possible for them to be able to drive that market into the ground with those types of regulations? Because I mean, it's entirely possible to trade crypto overseas. So,
yeah, no, I don't think, you know, they can definitely drive down the price, but I mean, the way that price is coming up is because the value of the dollar is going down. So it's like, the hyperinflation element. So people have got to think, well, maybe I'm going to pay 49% capital gains, but if the currency is being devalued at a rate above, that percentage, then they're going to say, well, yeah, I'm going to have to pay a lot of money, but relative to what the value that I could get from that coin, relative to the dollar, it makes more sense.
Mhm.
So
And people may not ever want to transfer that currency into dollar status, you know,
yeah,
considering all the devaluation that's happening.
yeah. Well, and I mean, I guess for your app, that's something that you might have to like. That
I'm
might be
watching it very
something.
closely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, and I think we had a couple of things that I mentioned. I'd like to sort of talk to you about
Yeah.
with your app in terms of, I think there's some ways that your app is sort of built for the world to come. I mean, we're talking about like this age of deception, um, and the way that the monetary system functions now. And I mean, I think you and I are both looking to a world ahead where there, people are looking for honesty and integrity, because they're so tired of being lied to. And so, I think some of the questions like that, we uh, we discussed them a little earlier, but in the way that your app functions, um, how do we have safeguards in there against people trying to manipulate it, or trying to be deceitful? And so, and I think some of that is sort of looking like, well, we're counting on better humans by the time we get to this point, because we know what we're going to go through to get there. Humans that aren't looking to exploit their fellow man, and they're just trying to see the value in themselves and give that out to others, and receive something equivalent to that. But
Mhm.
I guess in terms of, if you did have like collusion between two parties to kind of game the system and generate bogus favors, and then, extract value from the network. Um, I mean, that's something that, you sort of have to have something there. And you've talked about that in terms of possibly a technology solution, I guess, right?
Yeah. So, well, I don't want to I don't want to get too much into like the minute details of the app and like how it functions, because a lot
Oh,
of
I
that.
totally get that.
No, no, but I just mean that a lot of that runs in the background. But um I guess let's start with the onboarding process. When we go through the onboarding process, there's a survey that all the members have to fill out so that they um, can accurately take stock of what their skills and talents and abilities are, but also their resources, so that they can really truly understand what benefit they can bring to their community, and also really take stock of what help they need, right? But part of that onboarding process is also, um, you know, let's gauge your personality, because the world is full of different personalities, and they all function differently, and they all have different motivations, and they all would be interacting with this membership, with this network, to benefit themselves, right? Like that's what we want. We want people to interact because they see the value in it in their own lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but part of that too is getting them to understand kind of the ethos of what brought this app into being in the first place, and that we all have something to contribute, right? We all have something of value, and we all are able to contribute those individual unique things in a way that betters our communities. Like that's what the whole thing is built around, and helping people understand exactly what it is that they can contribute. And also what it is that they can reach out to their community to help them with. So in that onboarding process, you're walking them through the mental state that it takes to be able to have these interactions in a win-win-win type of way, right? So I think that in that onboarding process, anybody that has maybe nefarious or self-serving, which I don't find anything wrong with being self-serving. I think that that's the world that we live in. So maybe that's not the right way to face it, but or to express it. But anyone that has ill intent, we'll say, I think might be a little deterred by that onboarding process.
Yeah.
Because we're really focused on the building up of community. Now you might have people who are absolutely comfortable with bypassing, answering in a way that they think that they're or that is desired, answering each question in a way that might make them look good or something like that, right? But then you really have to think about, okay, well, if the membership were to be gamed, say by an ill-intentioned person, how would they be able to do that? And the first thing that you realize is they would have to have cohorts, right? They would have to have people who are willing to game the system with them. And what would that look like? That would look like, say, say you have you and another friend and you're ill-intentioned folks and you just want to be able to get out of the membership what everything that you possibly can with putting in as little as possible, right? And so you and a friend both sign up and start, pretending that you're doing favors for each other to earn favors. Well, the algorithm is set up so that if you're earning mad favors, but you're only interacting with one or two other people, the algorithm's going to pick that up and they're going to say, hey, buddy, what are you doing? How's this going? And just having the beautiful ability that technology gives us to be able to not dig into the details of people's data, right? We don't even need to do that. We don't even need to be, oh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Snooping.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't even need to take it that far, like to actually look at people's detail. All we have to do is look at who's trading favors and with who and how often, and we'll be able to spot that type of kind of ill-intentioned activity. That kind of the whole idea is based on pay it forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody or multiple people are working together to not have to live by that ethos, it's going to be spotted pretty quickly. And rather than boot them out, rather than kick them out, I think that that is an opportunity to reach out to those people and say, hey, are you feeling like you don't have enough resources? What is happening in your life that you feel like you need to game the system?
Mm-hmm.
And what can we do to help support you so that you don't feel the need to do that anymore?
That's going from sort of a punitive thing, like everything happening with Facebook and YouTube now, like you make one mistake, you're out, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Into more of like you're looking to help these people.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to make them the bad guy or make them the enemy. Like, how dare they do this to you? Like, you're trying to say, like, obviously there's a need here, and
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you can take advantage. So like if there's like an inequitable exchange of favors, like similarly, I guess the algorithm could catch something like that. Like you're taking these favors that.
How come you're only being paid favors by one other person?
Yeah.
You go out and spend those favors with, you use those favors within the membership, but how come all of your favors only come from one or two other people? That doesn't make sense, You
Yeah.
know, that's not the way the program is set up to be ultimately beneficial to its members.
Yeah.
So why are you not taking advantage of the full scope of the app? And when you ask that question, it becomes really obvious that they don't understand the power that comes with that network. They're still in a feast or famine mentality. They haven't
Yeah.
realized the abundance that can be brought into their lives with the app. And I think that if we're going to be effective, and if we're going to have the change, have this bring in the change that I'm looking for, that I think you're looking for, and a lot of other people are looking for, we're not going to be able to do that unless we're willing to look at those people who are still stuck in that old mindset,
Hmm.
of I have to get mine or somebody else will, and there's not enough to go around. We need to, I think that this app is an excellent way to find those people and to help them start to integrate some of these abundance principles into their life without
Right.
doing it in a punitive way.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I loved your answer there, because yeah, that's exactly right. It's not that closing down, how dare you do that to me? You know, it's opening your heart and saying like, um, hey friend,
Mm-hmm.
you know, let's help you, and let's get you to the point where you feel like you can help other people.
Yeah,
It's a great
there's
ethos.
uh, T.S. Eliot from the Crazy Enough to Change podcast. She states it really eloquently because she comes at it from a resource based economy perspective. So in her view, um, the only reason that people are ill intentioned is because they are in a scarcity mindset, you know. And when people realize that there is no scarcity, how will their behavior change? You know, you have theft and robbery and drug addiction and all of this stuff because there's something fundamentally, like there's a scar fundamentally within the human psyche that needs to be healed. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is if we can get everyone to realize that, yes, we are, in fact, a human family, and we are all on the same team, and we are sharing our resources. And so there's no reason to feel that because somebody else has more, that you have less. You could have more too.
Yeah.
And in the membership, everyone wants you to have more because that means that you're doing better. And if you're doing better, the community's doing better.
Yeah. It's not the way that people are inclined to think, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I appreciate talking to someone that, um, you know, I mean, just like, I mean, I work in a very business world, and um, the way that we treat each other, the way that we assume superiority over each other, and in hierarchies and stuff like that, it just, it doesn't lend itself to an open-hearted approach to people. And so I like when I see that, you know, that ethos in people, like taking that stance. So
Well, you know, it's hard for people to be open-hearted when they're traumatized. You know, it's hard for people to let their walls down enough to be able to see opportunity right in front of their nose. You know,
yeah.
a lot of people are blind to the beauty in the world because they are so um, oppressed. Isn't the word I'm looking for? Um, they feel so devalued, you
Yeah.
know? And when somebody feels devalued, they don't see that anybody thinks of them as having value, and they don't see um, that people might actually be waiting for them to make a contribution, and then that contribution is going to come back to them tenfold. It's such a paradigm shift in thinking that um, I try to be completely realistic. Like I know that some people will not understand the benefit of a network like this,
Hmm.
and they won't understand the idea of not trading time for money. And I get that. I get that. Um, But I think that one of the most kind things that we can do that will help them start to shift their minds toward a more abundant mentality is getting them to realize that they are absolutely valuable. And so even that person who might have ill intent trying to game the system in the app or whatever, if there's an opportunity there to express to them that you don't understand exactly what you're able to offer. Like, I've been through your onboarding survey and I've seen everything that you, all the skills and talents that you have and resources that you have. And I can tell you with unequivocally that you are needed in your community. And not only that, but your community is willing to reward you for those contributions. I don't know how many people have been told that they're valuable and that they have um, an intrinsic quality to them that the rest of the world needs. I
Yeah.
don't know how many humans have been told that in their lives.
I think it's gonna I think it's gonna take sort of excuse me. I think that we have to go through something to get to that point. We have to go through this feeling of scarcity, like the world's closing in on us, like the resources are going away, and we're grasping, and we're trying to keep everything for ourselves. And we have to get to the point where we realize like no one's going to take care of us. Um, the people who are supposed to be in charge of us don't have our best interests at heart, and we have to look out for each other. And then we're going to start doing that, and then we're going to see how good that feels
Mm-hmm.
to take care of people, and to feel like you have something to contribute, you know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where maybe you didn't, you didn't think so before. But I think it's going to be sort of a switch that flips inside, when we get to that point.
I agree with that completely. I think it'll be like a switch. I don't think that it's going to be a long mental process for people to be able to wrap their heads around this different way of thinking. I think that once it's apparent, and once you can see it, you can't unsee it, you know.
Yeah.
And what you said about nobody is going to take care of us. A lot of us have been dependent on that idea of our government caring for us, our representatives caring for us, because we've never actually been shown that not only can we care for ourselves, but we can care for each other too. And we've always been in this, I say it all the time, it's been this way as long as we can remember, right? Where we've had the government who is out there, basically establishing what reality is. What are the problems? What are the good things, and offering solutions to the problems and all of those things. And there's never been an emphasis on establishment that reminds people that these things happen because if the government does something good, it's because a human being made sure that it happened. It's
Mhm.
the government, it's the whole body that made that produced that solution, or came up with that new legislation that helped your family or whatever. It's always been removed from the human beings who actually made sure that it happened, right?
Yeah.
And now more and more people are realizing that, oh, these people don't have my best interests at heart. So why am I waiting for them to save me, to take care of me? Because they're not trying to do that. They're not trying to care for me. So what are my options? And it becomes really obvious really quickly that your only option is to depend on yourself and to make connections in your community with people who actually care about you and want to see you do well, and understand that having that relationship with you can benefit them also.
Mhm.
And so I think that I think we're a little farther away from that switch getting flipped than I would like, but it's not far off. I
Yeah.
think that enough people have had enough trauma related to government and government policy, and just the sheer dishonesty that comes from the controllers in the first place. People have had enough trauma to realize that, oh, this isn't working for us. This isn't working for me. I need to figure something else out. Um, but where does that leave them? Where does that leave them? They don't. I mean, I know for myself, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know, you know, back in the day when I was deep into conspiracy theories, all it did was leave me in fear that these people are not here to take care of us. These people are not, they don't care about us. We're not in the club, as I think that's George Carlin who put it that way.
Yeah,
It's a
right.
big club and you're not in it. They don't care about you. And it's like, what do I do with that information? That's how I felt for a long time. Um, but now I'm hoping that if I can just give people a tool to be able to assess themselves and their abilities and their resources, and also see where they're needed in their community, I hope that that shift is just natural and organic.
Yeah. I think society's going to shift in a lot of natural ways, and your app's hopefully going to be one of those ways. But I think, it's not going to be as challenging as we imagine it to be, because I think we're going to sort of wake up to what we already knew, that, we need each other, and it's natural for us to take care of each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that people think that like some big catastrophe needs to happen or something. But just like how I was saying that I expected, George W. Bush to round us all up, all of the dissenters, round us all up,
Mhm.
and then there's a, a um, then there's an obvious starting point of the resistance. But that's not really how it works. Everything with humanity and the collective happens slowly. It starts on the fringes, and then the fringes start to um, influence the people around them, and then the fringe becomes larger and larger, and then before you meet critical mass, and where as before an idea might seem completely ludicrous or unrealistic, suddenly the majority of the people are all working off of the same paradigm, and it's the most natural thing in the world,
Yeah.
which it is. It really is the most natural thing in the world to crave community and to rely on community, and for your community to rely on you. It's just that's been co opted by the controllers who just want us to rely on them. And so, I mean, this app, it's like the beginning of a freedom movement. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy to be on the fringes with you. I think I'm gonna have to uh, take off here, so we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, sometime soon. I'd like to do it regularly. I really would. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking with me and being with me on this journey and editing all of my crazy podcasts and
Likewise, yeah, and I'm going to try to get to the new one tomorrow. Just talk shop here for a second,
yeah.
because this weekend is bonkers. We have two Mother's Day things going on, and I think we're supposed to take the kids. Like our youngest one rides a horse. We're doing that tomorrow night. So like I'm going to try to get it done Friday. So hopefully maybe um, early next week.
No worries. No
Yeah.
worries. And yeah, we'll have some. I think that by the next time we do another one of these, we'll have some really good app updates about the app too. So I'm stoked.
Yes, that would be
Enjoy the
great.
family and get all your stuff done. And I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, yeah. Happy Mother's Day. Take it
Oh,
easy.
thank you. Yes.
See ya.
All right. Thanks. Bye bye.